Black girl accused of theft at luxury store. Then her parents reveal who they are. On a sunny Saturday morning, 16-year-old Maya Johnson eagerly entered the luxurious boutique on Fifth Avenue, one of the city's most iconic shopping destinations. The sun streamed through the large windows, casting a golden hue over the elegant displays, illuminating the lavish interior that felt almost dreamlike to her. Maya had always loved fashion, drawing inspiration from fashion magazines, social media influencers, and her own unique sense of style. The boutique was not just a store to her. It was like stepping into a world of glamour and sophistication that she had only dreamed of. It wasn't often that Maya had the chance to shop in such high-end places, but today was special. She had saved up for months from her part-time job at a local cafe, and this was her reward. Before we can continue, if you love your family, subscribe to this channel to help up creating amazing stories. Now, let's continue. As she walked through the spacious store, her senses were captivated by the enchanting atmosphere. The boutique was impeccably designed, with sparkling chandeliers casting a warm glow over the displays. Racks of designer dresses lined the walls, each garment perfectly arranged as if it were a piece of art. Maya couldn't help but let her fingers brush the fabrics as she passed by. A soft silk blouse, a structured leather jacket, a sparkling sequin dress. The textures and colors seemed almost too beautiful to touch, and she felt a thrill just imagining herself in some of these outfits. Maya's heart raced with excitement as she explored the store, each step further into the boutique fueling her enthusiasm. She had been looking forward to this shopping trip for weeks, meticulously planning every detail down to which sections of the boutique she wanted to visit first. Fashion wasn't just a hobby for Maya, it was a passion and a form of self-expression. Each piece she admired felt like a small piece of herself that she was discovering for the first time. With every new item she encountered, she envisioned different aspects of her life where these pieces would fit, whether it was a casual lunch with friends or a formal family event. She soon found herself at a display of handbags and accessories. A particular handbag caught her eye, a sleek, black leather purse with a subtle gold logo and chain straps. Maya imagined herself walking through the city, holding that bag with confidence, her head held high as she navigated the bustling streets of Manhattan. The thought of being a part of that glamorous lifestyle thrilled her. She felt herself standing a little taller just by imagining it. She placed the bag over her shoulder, admiring her reflection in the mirror nearby. The feeling of holding something so luxurious, something she had worked hard to earn, made her feel a sense of accomplishment and pride. Moving on, Maya spotted the shoe section. It was filled with all sorts of styles, high heels in every color, boots with intricate designs, and even some casual yet elegant flats. Her gaze fell upon a pair of classic black stilettos, their smooth leather gleaming under the store's lights. She reached out, holding them delicately, marveling at their craftsmanship. The heels were just the right height, and she could imagine wearing them to a fancy dinner or an event, looking every bit as glamorous as the celebrities she admired in her favorite fashion magazines. For a moment, she lost herself in that fantasy, feeling a wave of excitement and joy wash over her. As she continued browsing, Maya began collecting a few items, carefully choosing pieces that she felt would enhance her personal style. She selected a chic scarf, a few pieces of statement jewelry, and a pair of stylish sunglasses. With each addition to her collection, her anticipation grew. She was creating her own story through these items, envisioning how each one would fit into her life, how she would wear them, and the memories she would make while sporting them. Each piece was not just an accessory. It was a reflection of her personality, her aspirations, and her journey of self-discovery. While admiring a delicate bracelet adorned with colorful gemstones, Maya caught a glimpse of another shopper, a woman in her late 20s, impeccably dressed, effortlessly exuding confidence. The woman seemed to glide through the store, drawing attention from other customers and employees alike. Maya felt a mixture of admiration and envy as she watched her select a stunning gown from a nearby rack. The contrast between her own youthful enthusiasm and the woman's composed sophistication was striking, but it also ignited a fire within Maya. She aspired to embody that same confidence and grace. Just as Maya was lost in her thoughts, She approached a full-length mirror to get a better view of how the scarf looked draped around her neck. As she adjusted it, she felt a sense of empowerment, as if she were stepping into a new version of herself. She imagined herself at a fashion show, the lights bright, the music pulsing, and her walking down the runway, turning heads as she showcased her unique style. This moment of self-reflection was abruptly interrupted when a woman approached her. The woman, an employee dressed in a crisp black uniform with a name tag reading Clara, wore a skeptical expression that immediately put Maya on edge. Clara's eyes swept over Maya, lingering on the shopping bag she was holding from a nearby store. "Excuse me, miss," Clara said, her voice polite but with a hint of suspicion that Maya couldn't ignore. "Can I see what you have there?" Maya was startled, feeling a sudden rush of confusion and anxiety. She had never experienced anything like this before, and for a moment, she didn't know how to respond. Her heart began to pound as she glanced down at the shopping bag in her hand. It was a simple bag with a few items she had bought at a different store earlier that morning. There was nothing suspicious about it, yet Clara's expression suggested otherwise. Sure," Maya replied, her voice a little shaky as she handed over the bag. Her excitement from moments ago faded, replaced by a mixture of embarrassment and fear. She felt exposed, as if the entire boutique was watching her every move. She tried to keep her composure, but the sting of the accusation was hard to ignore. Clara inspected the contents of the bag, and though she quickly saw that it contained nothing but legitimate purchases, the way she closed the bag and handed it back to Maya felt dismissive and condescending. "We have to be careful about theft," she said, her tone sharp and unyielding. Maya felt a knot of anger form in her stomach. She had come here to enjoy herself, to celebrate her hard work and indulge in her love for fashion, yet now she felt like a criminal. The humiliation was overwhelming. Maya could feel her cheeks flushing as she glanced around, wondering if anyone else had noticed the exchange. She had always prided herself on her honesty and integrity, and the idea that someone would suspect her of stealing was both hurtful and confusing. She wanted to defend herself, to explain that she would never dream of doing such a thing, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she felt a wave of vulnerability wash over her, as if the boutique's luxurious aura had turned cold and unwelcoming. Taking a deep breath, Maya tried to regain her composure. She forced a small smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. "I understand," she said softly, hoping to end the conversation quickly. But the damage was already done. The excitement she had felt only moments ago was gone, replaced by a sense of betrayal and sadness. She had entered this boutique with dreams of elegance and self-expression, and now all she felt was a heavy cloud of doubt. As she walked away from the employee, Maya couldn't shake the feeling of being judged. She replayed the interaction in her mind, wondering what she had done to warrant such treatment. Was it the way she looked? The clothes she wore? She couldn't understand why someone would assume the worst of her. This experience, which had started as a day of excitement and joy, had quickly turned into a painful reminder of how people could jump to conclusions based on appearances. Despite the lingering hurt, Maya resolved to continue her shopping. She wouldn't let one person's actions ruin her day entirely. She straightened her shoulders and focused on the items around her, reminding herself why she had come here in the first place. Fashion was her passion, and she wouldn't let anyone take that away from her. As she walked through the store, she noticed a few other employees watching her, and she felt a pang of unease. It was as if Clara's suspicion had spread, casting a shadow over her entire experience. Maya did her best to ignore it, but it wasn't easy. The joy she had felt when she first entered the boutique was now overshadowed by doubt and discomfort. Eventually, Maya made her way to the checkout counter, holding the items she had chosen with a newfound sense of determination. As the cashier scanned each piece, Maya felt a surge of pride. She had worked hard to earn the money for this shopping trip, and she wouldn't let anyone diminish that accomplishment. This was her day, and despite the challenges, she would make the most of it. As she left the boutique, Maya couldn't shake the memory of the accusation. It lingered in her mind, a painful reminder of how quickly people could judge others based on appearances. But as she walked down Fifth Avenue, the bustling city around her, she felt a sense of resilience building within her. The street was alive with energy, people laughing, vendors calling out, and the distant sound of music. It was a stark contrast to her earlier feelings of isolation. Maya took a deep breath, inhaling the rich aroma of street food mingling with the sweet scent of blooming flowers from nearby vendors. She loved the city's vibrancy, the way it seemed to pulse with creativity and life. She made a mental note to visit her favorite cafe later, where she could sit back, sip on her favorite drink, and reflect on her day. As she walked, her fingers absent-mindedly traced the items she had purchased. Each piece represented a part of her journey, an expression of her personality, and a symbol of her aspirations. The chic scarf was not just an accessory, it was a statement of her unique style. The statement jewelry reflected her boldness, while the stylish sunglasses hinted at her desire to embrace her individuality. Determined to reclaim her joy, Maya headed towards Central Park, where she could relax and unwind. She loved the contrast between the bustling streets and the serene beauty of the park. The moment she stepped onto the grass, she felt a wave of calm wash over her. She found a quiet spot under a blooming cherry blossom tree and sat down, allowing herself a moment of reflection. With her items spread out beside her, Maya took a deep breath and closed her eyes, envisioning herself in each piece. She imagined wearing the scarf while strolling through the park on a sunny day, the fabric fluttering gently in the breeze. The thought brought a smile to her face, and she felt a flicker of happiness reigniting within her. Suddenly, her phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking the serene moment. It was a message from her best friend, Tara, asking about her shopping trip. Maya typed a quick reply, sharing her excitement about her new purchases, but leaving out the encounter with Clara. She didn't want to dampen Tara's spirits or her own. Instead, she focused on the positive, telling her friend about the beautiful items she had chosen and how she couldn't wait to show them off. After a few minutes of texting, Maya felt a renewed sense of optimism. She realized that, despite the bumps in the road, her passion for fashion and her love for self-expression were what truly mattered. She was determined not to let a negative experience overshadow her dreams. As she packed her items back into her bag, Maya made a promise to herself. She would continue to embrace her individuality and pursue her love for fashion, regardless of others' opinions. The world was full of beauty, and she wanted to be a part of it, unapologetically. With that thought in mind, she stood up and headed back to Fifth Avenue, her heart filled with hope and excitement. She would return to the boutique, not to confront anyone, but to celebrate her love for fashion and the joy it brought her. She realized that the boutique was a place of dreams, and she was determined to create her own story, one outfit at a time. As Maya walked through the bustling streets, she could feel the city's energy coursing through her veins. She passed street performers, their music uplifting her spirits, and the vibrant colors of storefronts surrounding her. She embraced the beauty in every moment, reminding herself that her journey was just beginning. Maya finally reached the boutique once again, this time with a newfound sense of confidence. She took a deep breath before stepping inside, ready to reclaim the excitement she had felt before. She was determined to embrace her passion for fashion fully and share it with the world. Walking past the displays, she felt a spark of inspiration ignite within her. Each garment now represented more than just clothing. They were symbols of her journey, resilience, and unwavering spirit. She picked out a few more pieces, each one telling a story of her aspirations and dreams. With each item she selected, she felt her confidence grow, solidifying her belief in herself and her style. Maya approached the checkout counter with a radiant smile, feeling lighter and more empowered than before. The cashier greeted her warmly this time, and Maya felt the warmth return to her experience. She paid for her items, her heart swelling with pride and satisfaction. As she left the boutique, a sense of joy filled her heart. She had faced challenges, but emerged stronger and more determined than ever. This shopping trip was about more than just clothes. It was a celebration of who she was and who she aspired to be. Maya walked down Fifth Avenue, head held high, ready to embrace whatever came next. She was ready to take on the world, one fashionable step at a time. As Maya's excitement over the dazzling heels waned, her thoughts clouded with the memory of Clara's harsh judgment. Each step she took deeper into the boutique felt heavy, carrying the weight of the employee's suspicion. She questioned her appearance, the simple choices she'd made that morning in her outfit, wondering if it was her attire that had caused Clara to assume the worst. Every time she reached out for a garment, she could feel a pair of eyes on her, sizing her up as if waiting for her to make a wrong move. Determined not to let the experience dampen her spirits completely, Maya walked to the next section of the store, her fingers grazing the luxurious fabrics she'd always admired. Yet, her earlier excitement had vanished, replaced with a resolve to make a statement, to remind herself that she deserved to be there just as much as anyone else. She'd saved up, planned this day for weeks, and this moment was supposed to be her reward. But now, each item felt tainted with doubt. Taking a deep breath, she decided to make the most of her shopping. Even if Clara's judgment loomed over her, she wouldn't allow it to take away from what she had earned. She selected a gorgeous silk blouse, a pair of classic trousers, and a sophisticated blazer, each piece representing her hard work and dedication. In every choice, she felt a quiet defiance growing, a reminder that she didn't need anyone's approval. When Maya finally reached the checkout counter, her mind returned to Clara's scrutinizing gaze, and the sting of being watched seeped back in. The cashier, a young man named Ryan with a friendly smile, greeted her warmly, unaware of the turmoil she'd just endured. His warmth offered a small relief, but Maya couldn't shake the memory of Clara's words and the way they had made her feel like a stranger in a place she had once admired. The cashier's pleasant demeanor stood in stark contrast to Clara's and gave Maya a sense of calm she hadn't realized she needed. She observed his professionalism and kindness and felt grateful for the brief reprieve. But her relief was short-lived. As Clara walked by, her presence a reminder of the humiliation Maya had experienced just moments earlier. As the cashier handed her the neatly bagged items, Maya met his eyes and gave a faint smile. She could sense that he had no idea about what had transpired, but something in his warmth reminded her that not everyone held judgments based on appearances. She realized, too, that people like Clara existed everywhere, their minds clouded by assumptions, but so did people like Ryan, who were open and kind, qualities Maya valued deeply. Determined to carry herself with grace, Maya left the boutique, her heart set on not allowing this one sour encounter to define her day. She stepped out onto the bustling Fifth Avenue, the familiar sounds of the city offering a strange comfort. Each passerby seemed wrapped up in their own world, and Maya realized how small her encounter had been in the grand scheme of things. Yet, she couldn't deny that the experience had left a mark. It was a reminder of the judgments she might face again and of the strength it took to rise above them. Her mother, Angela, was waiting for her outside, browsing her phone. Maya hesitated for a moment, wondering if she should share the experience. As Angela looked up, her face broke into a warm smile, a sight that usually reassured Maya, but now, it made her feel vulnerable. "Hey, darling, how is it?" Angela asked, her eyes bright with curiosity. Maya took a deep breath, feeling a mix of pride and the lingering sting of the incident. She told Angela everything, from the moment Clara approached her to the looks she felt from other employees. Angela listened intently, her face changing from calm curiosity to concern, then to a quiet, simmering anger. When Maya finished, Angela took her hand gently, her expression one of fierce love and protectiveness. "Maya," Angela began, her voice steady, "you deserve respect, and I'm so proud of you for handling that with grace. But we're not letting this slide." Her eyes were intense, filled with a determination that Maya recognized instantly. Angela was not one to stand down when her family's dignity was at stake. Together, they walked back into the boutique, Maya feeling a surge of strength at her mother's side. Angela's presence alone seemed to command attention, and she headed straight toward the customer service desk. Clara noticed them and froze, realizing immediately that the situation was far from over. Angela's demeanor was composed, but there was a steely resolve in her eyes. When she reached the desk, Angela politely requested to speak to a manager. Within moments, the store manager approached, her face lined with concern as she noticed Angela's calm yet authoritative stance. Angela introduced herself and Maya, her words crisp and composed, yet each sentence carried an undertone of disappointment that was impossible to ignore. "We came here to enjoy our day, to celebrate my daughter's hard work," Angela began, looking directly at the manager. But instead, we were met with suspicion and disrespect. "An employee here chose to judge my daughter based on assumptions, treating her as if she didn't belong." Angela's voice grew colder, each word deliberate and powerful. "My daughter deserves to be treated with dignity, as does every customer who walks through your doors." The manager's face flushed with embarrassment as Angela's words sank in. She apologized profusely, assuring Angela and Maya that this was not the standard of the store. Clara, standing nearby, seemed visibly shaken, her earlier confidence replaced by a look of regret. Angela, however, was not finished. "An apology is appreciated, but it doesn't erase what happened. I expect your store to reflect on the way it treats its customers and to ensure that no one else has to experience what my daughter went through." Angela's gaze shifted to Clara, making it clear that her message was meant for everyone involved. With that, Angela took Maya's hand, her grip firm and reassuring, and led her out of the store. As they stepped onto the street, Maya felt a wave of relief wash over her. Her mother's unwavering support filled her with gratitude and pride, and for the first time since the incident, she felt a sense of peace. As they walked away from the store, Angela looked at her daughter, her eyes softening. "Remember, Maya, people will always make assumptions, but those assumptions don't define who you are. You handled yourself with grace today, and I couldn't be prouder of you." Maya smiled, feeling a newfound confidence growing within her. The day had started with excitement, turned to pain, and ended in resilience. As she walked down the street, surrounded by the energy of the city, she felt stronger than ever. She knew she would face other challenges, other judgments, but she also knew that she had the strength to rise above them and a family who would always stand by her. From that day on, Maya carried this experience with her, not as a burden but as a reminder of her own resilience and the importance of standing up for herself and for others. Fashion, to her, was more than just clothing. It was a reflection of her journey, her strength, and her spirit. And as she continued to pursue her dreams, she did so with the knowledge that no one could take that away from her. Maya felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment as curious onlookers turned to observe the commotion. She wanted nothing more than to disappear in that moment. Standing in the middle of the boutique, clutching her shopping bag, she could feel her confidence evaporate. What had started as a fun outing had morphed into a scene of public scrutiny, and she didn't know how to escape it. Just then, the entrance doors swung open, and her parents, Angela and David Johnson, walked into the store. Angela and David were known for their elegance and sophistication. Angela, a well-regarded art director, always dressed in stylish, tailored outfits that exuded both creativity and authority. She had an eye for detail that not only made her a leader in her field, but also a role model for Maya. David, a respected business executive, possessed a calm, poised demeanor that commanded respect without him even trying. Together, they radiated an air of confidence that Maya admired and often aspired to embody herself. Today, they looked as impeccable as ever, their presence commanding attention from the moment they stepped inside. Upon spotting Maya, Angela's face softened, but as she took in her daughter's distressed expression, her eyes quickly shifted from warmth to concern. David immediately noticed the uncomfortable scene, sensing something was very wrong. Without hesitation, they walked over, their strides purposeful and firm. The other customers seemed to feel their intensity, quietly stepping back to make room for the family. Maya felt a rush of relief and security seeing them, though a lingering embarrassment gnawed at her, unsure of how to explain the situation. "What's going on here?" David asked, his tone calm, but carrying an undeniable edge. He looked directly at the employee, who suddenly seemed less confident under his gaze. His presence brought a sense of authority to the space, making it clear he wasn't going to tolerate any mistreatment of his daughter. The air was thick with tension as all eyes turned to the employee, awaiting her response. Maya glanced at her father, feeling both gratitude and a tinge of guilt. She didn't want her parents to be dragged into this mess, but at the same time, she was grateful for their support. The tension in the room was palpable, with every eye in the boutique now fixed on the unfolding confrontation. Angela placed a gentle hand on Maya's shoulder, her touch soothing. She leaned in close and whispered, "Are you all right, sweetheart?" Maya nodded, though her face still burned with embarrassment. Angela turned to face the employee, her expression hardening as she awaited an explanation. At that moment, the employee, now visibly uncomfortable, seemed unsure of how to proceed. She stammered, clearly flustered by the presence of Maya's parents. The confidence she had shown earlier when accusing Maya seemed to vanish. Glancing nervously between David and Angela, she hesitated before explaining herself. David crossed his arms, his expression unyielding, waiting for a proper explanation. The employee's demeanor had completely shifted, revealing the discomfort of being confronted by a powerful and protective family. Angela, who had been observing the employee with a critical eye, finally broke the silence. "Please explain why my daughter is being treated like this," she demanded. Her voice was cool but laced with indignation, making it clear she wasn't going to let the issue slide without answers. David, standing by her side, gave a nod of agreement, reinforcing the fact that they expected a thorough explanation. The employee swallowed hard, now visibly shaken. I thought she was trying to take something," the employee stuttered, her eyes darting around the room as if seeking an escape. "We've had issues with shoplifting recently, and I didn't mean to offend her." Maya felt a fresh wave of humiliation wash over her. The accusation had come out of nowhere, and now it hung in the air like a dark cloud. Angela's grip on Maya's shoulder tightened, her disappointment evident. "That's no excuse," she said firmly. "You don't treat customers like that, especially a young girl. You could have approached her differently." David stepped forward, his voice steady, but filled with authority. "And you should have verified the situation before making such a serious accusation. This is unacceptable behavior for any employee, particularly in a store that prides itself on customer service." His calm demeanor only underscored the gravity of the situation. The employee looked down, her face flushed with embarrassment. "I'm really sorry," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean to." "But you did," Angela interrupted, her tone sharp. "The impact of your actions matters more than your intentions. This isn't just about a mistake, it's about how your assumptions have consequences. You need to understand that treating someone with suspicion based solely on their appearance can have lasting effects, especially on young people." Maya stood silently, her heart racing. She had always known her parents to be advocates for fairness and respect, but witnessing their fierce protection was overwhelming. A mixture of gratitude and guilt surged through her. She wished she could defend herself, but the shame of the incident still loomed large. David took a deep breath, trying to maintain his composure. "This situation needs to be addressed not only with us, but also within your store. How are you going to ensure this doesn't happen again?" His question hung in the air, a challenge that needed to be answered. The employee looked at the floor, clearly overwhelmed. I'll talk to my manager. We have training sessions, but I guess I didn't follow the protocols correctly," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I'll make sure this doesn't happen again." Angela nodded, but her expression remained stern. "I hope you understand that this experience can be a lesson, not just for you, but for all your colleagues. It's essential that the entire team is aware of how their actions affect customers." Just then, another employee, a manager, perhaps, approached the scene, sensing the tension. "Is everything all right here?" she asked, her eyes darting between the employee and Maya's family. She had an air of authority, but it was mixed with confusion, as if she was unsure of how to handle the situation. David turned to her, his expression resolute. "No, everything is not all right. Your staff has made a serious mistake in how they treated my daughter, and we demand accountability." His voice was calm, yet unwavering, a forceful reminder that they wouldn't be brushed off. The manager's eyes widened in realization as she quickly assessed the situation. "I'm so sorry. I had no idea this was happening," she said, her voice more professional. "Please let me take care of this." She motioned for the other employee to step aside, indicating that she would handle the matter directly. Angela took a breath, her demeanor shifting slightly. "We appreciate your willingness to address this, but it needs to go beyond just today. We want to ensure that no other customer feels the way Maya does right now." The manager nodded, her expression serious. "Absolutely. We'll conduct a full review of our policies and procedures. This is unacceptable, and I will personally make sure our team understands the importance of respect and understanding." Maya felt a glimmer of hope at the manager's response, but she also recognized the weight of the moment. Her parents' support had made a difference, but she wanted to ensure that the experience wouldn't just fade into memory. "I think it's important to have workshops on diversity and understanding, too," she added, surprising herself with her boldness. "It's not just about training on procedures, but also about creating a culture of empathy." David and Angela exchanged proud looks, their expressions revealing their surprise at Maya's maturity. "That's a great idea, sweetheart," David said, his voice warm. "You're absolutely right. It's essential that businesses foster an inclusive environment." The manager smiled, her demeanor softening as she realized Maya's thoughtful input. "Thank you for that suggestion. I'll ensure we incorporate it into our training sessions. It's crucial for us to create a welcoming space for everyone." Maya felt a swell of pride as she realized her voice was being heard. This moment, once filled with shame and embarrassment, was transforming into an opportunity for growth. She glanced at her parents, their expressions encouraging, and knew that they were proud of her for standing up for herself. As the tension began to dissipate, the other customers resumed their shopping, though many still stole glances at the family, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and support. The boutique, once a place of discomfort, was slowly regaining its energy, and Maya felt a renewed sense of confidence building within her. "Can we go look at the accessories now?" Maya asked, her voice more steady than it had been earlier. "I was really excited about finding a new scarf." Her request felt both normal and defiant, a small act of reclaiming her day. Angela smiled brightly, clearly relieved that Maya was ready to move on. "Absolutely. Let's find something beautiful that you'll love." She linked her arm with Maya's, leading her toward the accessories section, where colorful scarves and unique jewelry beckoned. David followed closely behind, a sense of pride swelling in his chest as he watched his daughter regain her composure. The day had taken an unexpected turn, but it was clear that they were navigating it together as a family. As they browsed through the scarves, Maya found herself drawn to a vibrant red one, its colors a stark contrast to the emotional turmoil of the earlier encounter. She picked it up, holding it against her face to see how it complemented her complexion. "What do you think?" she asked, looking at her mother for approval. Angela beamed at her. "It's stunning, just like you. It'll be perfect for fall." She took a step back, admiring the way. The scarf enhanced Maya's natural beauty. David nodded in agreement, a warm smile spreading across his face. Maya felt a surge of joy as she twirled the scarf in her hands, the soft fabric brushing against her skin. It was a reminder that even after difficult moments, beauty could still be found. "I'll take it," she declared, her voice filled with enthusiasm. As they made their way to the checkout, Maya felt lighter, the earlier incident fading into the background. The boutique had once felt like a place of judgment, but now it was filled with laughter and love. The power of her family's support had transformed her experience, and she knew she could face the world with resilience. "Let's make a deal," David said as they approached the register. "For every scarf you buy, we'll have a family day where we do something fun together." His suggestion brought a sparkle to Maya's eyes. The idea of creating new memories with her parents made her heart swell. "Deal," she exclaimed, her spirits lifted. As they completed the purchase, Maya couldn't help but feel grateful for the lessons she had learned. Even in moments of adversity, the love of family and the courage to speak out could create positive change. Walking out of the store, Maya glanced back at the boutique, feeling a mixture of emotions. The day hadn't turned out as she had expected, but it had sparked a determination within her. She was ready to embrace the challenges ahead, armed with the knowledge that she could stand up for herself and others. As they strolled down the street, laughter bubbled up among them, their bond strengthened by the day's events. Maya felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for her parents and the lessons they had imparted. No matter what challenges lay ahead, she knew she wouldn't have to face them alone. And with that thought, she stepped confidently into the future, ready for whatever adventures awaited. Before Maya could utter a word to explain the situation, the employee's shaky voice broke the silence, blurting out, "She was accused of stealing." The words hung heavy in the air, each syllable striking Maya's heart like a blow. Hearing that accusation aloud, her cheeks flushed, a cocktail of embarrassment and frustration bubbling inside her. Her mother's expression, initially one of concern, morphed into one of steely indignation. Angela's gaze was intense, her protective instinct ignited as she stepped forward, positioning herself squarely between Maya and the employee with a fierce resolve that only a parent could summon. Angela's tone was calm, but held a firmness that demanded respect. "This is our daughter, Maya Johnson," she said, her voice steady, yet brimming with an unmistakable authority. "She has every right to be here and to shop in this store without being subjected to baseless accusations." Her words carried a gravity that silenced the room, and the employee's expression faltered under Angela's unwavering gaze. Maya felt a surge of pride mixed with a deep sense of gratitude. Her mother wasn't just defending her, she was reclaiming her daughter's dignity, making it clear that no one had the right to strip it away. At the same moment, David, who had been watching silently, reached into his pocket and retrieved a sleek, polished business card embossed with the brand's logo. With calm deliberation, he handed it to the employee, who took it with trembling fingers. As she glanced down at the card, her face drained of color, her eyes widening with shock as she read the information. The card identified David as a significant stakeholder in the luxury brand, a fact she clearly hadn't anticipated. The dawning realization hit her visibly, her face paling as she grappled with the magnitude of her error. The employee's demeanor shifted in an instant. Her earlier bravado vanished, replaced by an expression of fear and regret. She looked up at David, struggling to find words, her voice trembling as she stammered, "Mr. Johnson, I had no idea." Her tone was laced with desperation, her gaze darting anxiously between him and Angela, as if searching for some way to undo her actions. But there was no escaping the weight of her accusation, the hasty assumptions she had made, now painfully apparent. David met her gaze with a steady expression, his eyes calm, but filled with a quiet reprimand. "It seems you didn't think to check before jumping to conclusions," he remarked, his voice even, carrying the authority of someone who expected accountability. His words were simple, but they held a powerful impact, each one a reminder of the consequences of acting without understanding. The employee began to stammer an apology, but David raised a hand, signaling her to stop. His gesture conveyed a silent but clear message. He had no patience for excuses. He was demanding respect, not only for his family, but for every customer who walked through those doors. Angela took a step forward, her voice cold but controlled, each word carrying a purpose. "We teach our daughter respect, kindness, and honesty," she began, her tone as unyielding as her stance. "We expect those values to be reciprocated, especially in establishments where we have been loyal customers." She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. "I would like to understand how this happened and what steps will be taken to ensure it doesn't happen to anyone else." Her gaze shifted from the employee to the store manager, who had been standing nearby, watching the scene unfold with visible concern. The manager, a woman in her 40s with an air of professionalism, hurried over, her face flushed with embarrassment. She introduced herself, bowing her head slightly in a gesture of apology. "We are deeply sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, Maya," she said, her tone filled with sincerity. She assured them that the employee's behavior did not represent the values of the boutique and that the incident would be addressed immediately. Maya could tell the manager's apology was genuine, But she also sensed that the gravity of the situation had only sunk in because of her parents' influence. Angela nodded, her face softening slightly, but her stance remained firm. "This is not just about us," she replied, gesturing towards Maya. "It's about ensuring every young person who walks through these doors is treated with respect and dignity. It's about understanding that appearances don't determine character." Her words rang through the store, resonating not only with the employees, but also with the customers who had been silently observing the incident. She wasn't just advocating for Maya, she was standing up for the countless others who might have experienced something similar but didn't have a voice to stand up for them. The employee, still holding David's business card, swallowed hard, her face flushed with embarrassment as she struggled to meet Maya's gaze. She took a shaky breath, her voice barely audible as she said, I'm so sorry, Miss Johnson. I shouldn't have assumed." There was a rawness in her tone that conveyed her regret, an acknowledgement of the harm her actions had caused. Maya, who had been absorbing everything in silence, finally spoke. Her voice was soft, but there was a strength behind it that belied her young age. "Thank you for apologizing," she said, her tone gracious yet firm. "But please, remember this moment. Not everyone is parents who can step in and set things right. Next time, think before you act." Her words surprised even herself. They were firm yet compassionate, filled with a maturity that she hadn't known she possessed. She felt a surge of confidence, a sense of agency in her ability to stand up for herself and others who might face similar treatment. Angela and David exchanged a glance, their expressions filled with pride and admiration. Maya had handled the situation with a level of grace and strength that spoke to the values they had instilled in her. They recognized the empathy in her words, the understanding that not everyone had a support system to advocate for them. In that moment, they saw their daughter not only as someone capable of facing adversity, but also as someone who could inspire change in others. The store manager, sensing the need to remedy the situation, offered to personally assist the Johnsons with their purchases, extending a sincere apology for the unfortunate experience. Angela and David graciously accepted, but made it clear that they expected the store to uphold better standards in the future. Their message was one of accountability, a reminder that customers deserved respect and fairness, regardless of background or appearance. As the family stepped outside the boutique, Maya felt a complex mix of emotions: relief, pride, and a lingering sadness over how quickly things had spiraled out of control. Angela slipped her arm around Maya's shoulder, giving her a reassuring smile. "You handled that beautifully," she said, her voice filled with pride. David nodded in agreement, placing a gentle hand on her back as they began walking down the bustling avenue, the warmth of their support enveloping her. With each step, Maya felt a renewed sense of confidence. The experience, though painful, had taught her invaluable lessons about resilience, empathy, and the importance of standing up for herself. Her parents' support had been a fortress, but she realized that her own strength had carried her through the confrontation. She was no longer just the girl who had been wrongly accused. She was someone who had faced injustice head-on and emerged stronger for it. The incident became a defining moment in Maya's life, shaping her understanding of self-worth and empathy. It instilled in her a drive to advocate for fairness, not just for herself, but for others as well. In the weeks that followed, she found herself thinking about how she could contribute positively to her community. She volunteered to mentor younger students at her school, sharing her experiences and encouraging them to believe in their own worth. Maya wanted to be a voice of support for those who, like her, had experienced the sting of prejudice. Years later, Maya would look back on that day with a mixture of gratitude and resolve. The incident in the boutique, once a source of embarrassment, had become a source of strength. It had taught her the value of resilience, the importance of empathy, and the power of standing up for herself and others. Her parents' words of wisdom had guided her through countless challenges, reminding her that her worth was defined not by others' perceptions, but by her own actions and beliefs. As she continued her journey, Maya knew that she would carry these lessons with her for a lifetime. The boutique incident was a chapter in her story, one that had given her the courage to forge her own path and the empathy to uplift those around her. It was a testament to the strength of family, the power of self-respect, and the resilience that comes from facing life's challenges with dignity and grace. As the gravity of their mistake became apparent, the atmosphere in the store shifted dramatically. What had been a bustling, vibrant environment was now thick with an uncomfortable tension. Employees who had eyed Maya suspiciously only moments ago now scrambled to make amends, but their efforts felt frantic and insincere. Whispers filled the quiet space, echoing off the brightly lit shelves, punctuated by the occasional rustle of shopping bags. One employee, visibly shaken, stepped forward, clasping her hands in front of her nervously. "We're so sorry for the misunderstanding," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes darted between Maya and her parents, unable to hold their gaze for long, as if the very act of looking could somehow amplify the weight of the situation. There was a palpable sense of regret in the air, but it felt overshadowed by an undercurrent of embarrassment and fear. The store manager, recognizing the severity of the situation, rushed forward, her face pale with embarrassment and worry. She extended her hand, but Maya hesitated, an internal conflict visible in her expression. The gesture felt too little, too late, and a wave of frustration washed over her. After a moment, she reluctantly shook the manager's hand, a fleeting connection that felt more like a formality than a genuine reconciliation. "Please accept our sincerest apologies, Ms. Johnson. I assure you, this is not a reflection of our store's values," the manager continued, her words tumbling out in a rush, a desperate attempt to salvage the store's reputation amidst the chaos. Yet, despite the manager's efforts, the damage had been done. The excitement that had filled Maya's heart at the prospect of shopping had evaporated, replaced by a heavy sense of humiliation that now clung to her like a shadow. Her eyes remained downcast, the vibrant colors of the store blending into a blur as she clutched her shopping bag tightly, as if it were a shield protecting her from the piercing stares of those around her. The other shoppers, having witnessed the incident, whispered among themselves, their curiosity palpable. Some looked at Maya with pity, while others seemed almost annoyed by the disturbance, their irritation palpable. The employees' apologies felt hollow, and Maya sensed that the store staff were more concerned with maintaining appearances than genuinely acknowledging the harm they had caused. It was clear they feared the repercussions from her parents, particularly her father, a key stakeholder in the brand. David remained silent, his gaze unflinching as he observed the employees' attempts to rectify the situation. His expression was unreadable, but there was an underlying firmness that made it clear he would not let this incident slide easily. Angela, Maya's mother, took a step closer to her daughter, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. Her presence was grounding, a silent reminder that Maya wasn't alone in this moment. Sensing Angela's indignation, the manager shifted her focus to her, her voice laced with urgency. "Mrs. Johnson, please understand, this was a regrettable mistake. Our employee acted out of protocol and will ensure that this never happens again." The manager's attempt to appease was evident, but it felt like a bandage on a wound that required deeper healing. Angela's eyes narrowed, her disappointment evident. "Mistakes like this," she began slowly, "can have a lasting impact on a person, especially someone young and impressionable." Her voice was calm but sharp, each word carefully chosen to underscore the weight of the incident. Maya felt a swell of pride for her mother, who stood up not only for her daughter but for the broader principle of respect and fairness. Angela's advocacy resonated, not just in the store but also within Maya, who felt the sting of being treated unfairly. The manager nodded, her expression solemn as she absorbed Angela's words. "You're absolutely right," she admitted, looking genuinely remorseful. "We will be reviewing our training policies to prevent any further misunderstandings. This should never have happened to Maya or anyone else." Her sincerity cut through the tension, but Maya knew that words alone would not suffice. A few employees stood nearby, looking down in shame, realizing the potential harm their actions could have caused. Maya glanced at them, feeling a mix of anger and pity. She knew they were likely following the store's procedures, But the experience had opened her eyes to the flaws in such policies, flaws that prioritize suspicion over trust, judgment over understanding. The weight of her humiliation, though lessened by her parents' support, remained, a stark reminder of how quickly prejudice could overshadow kindness. As the minutes ticked by, the store's environment began to shift. The murmurs of other shoppers softened, replaced by a hesitant acknowledgement of what had transpired. Some people who had witnessed the incident began to approach Maya and her family, offering their own apologies, voicing their disapproval of how the situation had unfolded. Their empathy was a balm, though it could not erase the sting of the initial encounter. One woman, perhaps in her late 40s, approached cautiously. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that," she said softly. It was completely out of line. Her sincerity was palpable, and Maya found herself nodding, grateful for the unexpected support. The woman's gesture reminded Maya that not everyone held the same prejudiced views and that kindness still existed, even in the most trying situations. "Thank you," Maya replied, her voice a bit stronger. The act of standing up for herself felt empowering, and she realized that her experience could be a catalyst for change, not just for her, but for others as well. It was a small revelation, but in that moment, it helped to lift the heaviness that had settled in her chest. Angela sensed the shift in her daughter's demeanor and exchanged a proud look with David, who had finally spoken up. "I appreciate your concern," he said to the woman, his tone firm yet measured. "It's vital that we hold businesses accountable for their actions. This isn't just about Maya, it's about everyone who enters a store and deserves to be treated with respect." The manager stood by, listening intently, her expression shifting from embarrassment to determination. "We will make this right," she promised, her voice steady. "This incident will not be forgotten, and we will work to ensure that our store reflects the values we claim to uphold. We'll provide better training for our staff and create a more welcoming environment for everyone." Maya felt a flicker of hope at the manager's words. Perhaps this incident could spark real change, not just for her but for future customers who might face similar situations. The realization that her voice mattered, that her experience could influence a broader conversation, instilled a sense of purpose within her. As the atmosphere gradually shifted toward a more positive note, Maya glanced at the employees who had been involved in the incident. Their faces reflected a mixture of regret and relief, and she wondered if they would take this moment to reflect on their actions and the impact they could have on others. She hoped they would. The store, once filled with chatter and excitement, now buzzed with a different energy, a collective understanding of the importance of compassion and respect. Maya stood tall, her shopping bag clutched in one hand, as she felt her parents' support wrap around her like a warm blanket. As they prepared to leave, Angela leaned down to Maya, whispering, "You did so well, sweetheart. I'm proud of you." Her words were like a gentle reminder that while the world could be harsh, there were still people willing to stand up for what was right. Maya nodded, feeling a renewed sense of confidence. "Thanks, Mom. I just hope things really do change." The sentiment hung in the air, a promise of growth that extended beyond their family and into the very fabric of the store itself. With one last glance back at the scene, Maya stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever came next. The day had taken an unexpected turn, but she felt equipped to face it, not just as a young girl shopping with her parents, but as a voice for herself and others who deserved to be seen and heard. The experience, while painful, had ignited a fire within her, a desire to advocate for change and to ensure that respect and kindness became the norm rather than the exception. The Johnsons left the store in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. As they walked down the bustling street, Maya's emotions finally erupted. "I can't believe this happened," she said, her voice trembling with a combination of anger, hurt, and disbelief. The lively noise of the city around them seemed muted, as if her family's distress had created a quiet bubble around them. Angela, sensing her daughter's vulnerability, wrapped her arm around Maya, pulling her close in a comforting embrace. "I know, sweetheart," she murmured softly. "It was unfair and completely uncalled for. But don't let it define you." Maya looked up at her mother, feeling a mixture of gratitude and confusion. "It's hard not to," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. The humiliation from the accusation lingered, and her mind replayed the scene over and over, each time feeling a pang of hurt, as if it were happening all over again. Angela's smile held a warmth and wisdom that Maya found comforting, even amidst her feelings of shame and anger. The quiet strength in her mother's eyes conveyed a profound message of resilience. As Angela's words filled the air, they wrapped around Maya, giving her a sense of stability she hadn't known she needed. "This is a lesson, Maya. A difficult one, but important," Angela said gently. "Always remember who you are and what you stand for. Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are." Her voice was firm yet tender, filled with the unshakable belief she held in her daughter's potential. To Maya, those words were more than just comforting. They were empowering. They made her feel capable of withstanding the challenges that life might throw her way, no matter how disheartening or unfair. As Angela spoke, Maya felt her anger begin to soften, making space for reflection. The pain she had felt in the boutique, the humiliation that had once felt overwhelming, now seemed more manageable. Her mother's words were a balm, soothing the wound that had been opened by the accusations. In that moment, Maya realized that her mother saw her not just as a daughter, but as someone with the strength to navigate adversity with dignity. Angela's unwavering belief reminded Maya of her own strength, one she hadn't been fully aware of until now. David, who had been listening quietly as they walked, finally broke his silence. His voice was calm and deliberate, but there was a gravity to it that held Maya's attention. Unlike her mother's warmth, her father's words were grounded in the kind of wisdom that came from personal experience. "Your worth is not defined by others' perceptions, Maya," he began, his gaze steady as he looked at her. "People will make assumptions. They'll judge you without knowing who you truly are. But that's on them, not you." His words resonated with a depth that struck a chord within her. David's experiences, though different from Maya's, had also shaped him, teaching him to stand tall despite misunderstandings and preconceived notions. For a moment, Maya imagined her father as a young man, possibly having faced similar situations where he had to prove himself, confront stereotypes, or be misjudged. She understood that he spoke from a place of empathy and experience, having learned how to carry himself in a world that didn't always see people for who they truly were. The wisdom in his words felt like a torch being passed down, a lesson meant to guide her as she navigated her own journey. As they continued down the bustling street, Maya took a deep breath, her chest rising and falling with a newfound sense of calm. Her parents' words echoed in her mind, each phrase settling into place like the pieces of a puzzle. She felt a quiet but powerful transformation taking place within her. It was as though she were standing at a crossroads, and her parents' words had illuminated the path forward, showing her how to hold onto her sense of self even when the world tried to shake her confidence. Reflecting on the day's events, Maya realized that this experience, while painful, was an opportunity for growth. It was a lesson that would serve her in ways she couldn't yet fully comprehend. She now understood that her self-worth wasn't something that could be granted or taken away by others. It was intrinsic, an unchangeable part of who she was. With each step she took, Maya felt her resolve solidify, her sense of identity strengthening. She knew that she was capable of facing challenges with grace and integrity, traits that her parents had embodied and now passed on to her. In that moment, Maya felt as though she had been given a priceless gift, a deeper understanding of herself and a profound sense of resilience. She knew that life would inevitably bring more moments of misunderstanding or prejudice, but she also knew that she had the tools to handle them. She didn't need to prove herself to anyone who couldn't see her worth. Her value was hers to hold, defined not by others but by her own principles and the love of those who truly knew her. As they continued their walk, Maya's mind began to drift forward, envisioning how she might carry this lesson into her future. She thought about the aspirations she held, the dreams she wanted to pursue, and the kind of person she wanted to become. The memory of the incident would stay with her, but rather than a source of pain, it would serve as a reminder of her strength. She knew that she would encounter other challenges, perhaps in school, her career, or even friendships. But now, she was prepared to face them with confidence and a sense of self-worth that no one could diminish. This experience also deepened her gratitude for her parents, whose guidance had been a steady light through every phase of her life. Maya understood now, more than ever, that their support and belief in her were her greatest assets. Her mother's gentle strength and her father's wise counsel were more than just words. They were a foundation she could build her life on. She would carry their lessons with her, allowing them to shape her choices, her actions, and her interactions with others. With each passing day, the incident became less a source of humiliation and more a catalyst for self-discovery. Maya began to see how this experience had equipped her with a newfound empathy for others who faced judgment or discrimination. She wanted to use her own story to remind others of their worth, to encourage people to stand tall even in the face of misunderstanding. She started to think of ways she could contribute positively to her community, maybe by volunteering or joining a club that focused on inclusivity and empowerment. As the weeks went on, Maya found herself reflecting on her parents' words during difficult moments. Whether it was a tough day at school, a disagreement with friends, or a moment of self-doubt, she would remember her mother's warmth and her father's wisdom. Those words had become her inner compass, guiding her through life's uncertainties with a calm assurance that she was worthy, capable, and strong. One evening, as she was preparing for an upcoming presentation at school, Maya realized how much she had grown. She had chosen to speak about the importance of self-worth and integrity, themes that had taken on a personal significance for her. Standing in front of her classmates, she shared her story, not to gain sympathy, but to convey the power of resilience and staying true to oneself. Her voice was steady, her words filled with the conviction that had been instilled by her parents. The presentation received a wave of support from her classmates and teachers, who appreciated her honesty and courage. Maya's message struck a chord with others, and she felt a sense of fulfillment knowing that her experience had inspired those around her. It was a turning point in her life, a moment when she realized that her story had value, not just for her, but for everyone who needed a reminder of their own strength. As she walked home that day, her parents' words echoed in her mind, grounding her once more. She knew that the journey of self-discovery was ongoing and that there would be other moments of doubt or challenge. But Maya was no longer afraid. She had learned to trust in herself, to hold onto the principles her parents had imparted. Our words had become her shield, her source of courage, and a testament to the power of love and support. Years later, Maya would look back on that day in the boutique as a pivotal moment in her life, a lesson in resilience, self-respect, and integrity. She had grown into a person who embodied the very qualities her parents had taught her to cherish. Each success, each challenge she overcame was a testament to the wisdom they had shared with her. The incident had once felt like a moment of weakness, a source of embarrassment, but now it was a reminder of the strength she carried within. She was not defined by the judgments of others, but by the love and values that had shaped her. And as she continued her journey, Maya knew that she would always hold onto the lesson her parents had taught her that day, a lesson that would guide her for a lifetime. In the days that followed, Maya spent a lot of time reflecting on the incident at the boutique. The initial shock and anger had subsided, replaced by a deeper understanding of the complexities of human behavior and the power of self-worth. She realized that her identity was not something fragile, easily influenced by others' perceptions, but a resilient part of who she was. With her parents' support, Maya decided to channel her experience into something positive. She began reading articles and researching instances of bias in the fashion industry, discovering that her experience was, unfortunately, not unique. Countless others had faced similar situations, each one a painful reminder of the lingering prejudices that existed in society. The realization ignited a new sense of purpose within her. Maya decided to share her story on social media, crafting a heartfelt post that highlighted the importance of inclusivity and respect. She recounted the boutique incident not to gain sympathy, but to raise awareness and encourage meaningful conversations. "We're all deserving of respect, regardless of what others may assume about us," she wrote. Her message resonated with her followers, and soon, her post gained traction, sparking discussions among people from all walks of life who shared their own stories and expressed support. Her parents, seeing the impact Maya's words were having, supported her efforts wholeheartedly. Angela helped her daughter reach out to local organizations that promoted inclusivity in the fashion industry, and together, they discussed potential collaborations to advocate for positive change. David, too, offered his guidance, encouraging Maya to stay true to her values and use her voice to make a difference. Through her advocacy, Maya found a new passion. She realized that standing up for herself was not just about defending her actions, but about inspiring others to embrace their individuality. The experience had taught her the value of empathy and the importance of standing up for those who couldn't. As she continued her journey, Maya's sense of purpose deepened, transforming her from a girl who loved fashion into a young woman committed to making a meaningful impact on the industry she admired. As her story began circulating more widely, Maya's experience resonated with many who had also faced prejudice, particularly in industries where appearances often define initial judgments. Her post, which initially was intended only for friends and followers, quickly spread across various social media platforms. It wasn't long before fashion bloggers and influencers picked it up, sharing Maya's post with captions expressing solidarity and calling attention to the importance of inclusivity and understanding in the fashion world. Some of these influencers had millions of followers, and Maya's story began reaching an even broader audience. Messages flooded her inbox, some from people sharing their own experiences with prejudice and misunderstanding, while others came from fans and supporters who saw Maya as a symbol of resilience. Each message filled her with a sense of purpose and reminded her of her capacity to inspire positive change. Among the many messages, a few stood out, coming from designers and fashion executives who reached out to express their support. Some shared how her story had made them reflect on their own practices, vowing to prioritize empathy and respect in their interactions with customers and employees alike. As Maya read through the outpouring of support, she noticed a pattern. Many people within the fashion industry felt similar frustrations about the sometimes harsh judgments that accompanied it. Although Maya had initially experienced pain from her unjust treatment, she saw that her story had become a catalyst for conversations about integrity, inclusivity, and the need for empathy in retail and fashion spaces. The pain of that day in the boutique had been transformed into a powerful tool for unity and awareness. Not long after, Maya received an invitation to participate in a panel discussion on inclusivity in the fashion industry. Organized by a renowned fashion magazine, the event was to feature designers, models, and activists who had advocated for diversity in fashion. Maya felt honored, but also nervous. She hadn't anticipated her story reaching this level of influence, nor did she see herself as a public speaker. Her parents, however, encouraged her to embrace this opportunity to further her message. "This is your chance to make a difference, Maya," her mother told her. "You have a voice that people are listening to. Use it." On the day of the event, Maya dressed in an outfit that represented both her personality and her love for fashion, a bold, bright ensemble that made her feel confident. As she took her seat among the other panelists, she could feel the eyes of the audience on her, but instead of feeling intimidated, she remembered the support from her family and followers. When it was her turn to speak, Maya shared her story in her own words, from the initial excitement of shopping that day to the painful accusation and eventual empowerment that followed. She emphasized that fashion should be an inclusive space where everyone feels valued, not a place for judgment. "We often say that fashion is for everyone," Maya began, her voice steady. "But sometimes we don't act like it. It's not just about size or shape. It's about making everyone feel like they belong." Her words resonated with the audience, many of whom nodded in agreement. Maya noticed a few people wiping away tears, a sign that her message had touched them deeply. The panel discussion was a turning point for Maya. Her words were covered in various media outlets, and fashion brands began to reach out, interested in collaborating with her on initiatives that promoted inclusivity and positive change within the industry. She even received an offer to write a column for a popular fashion blog where she could share her thoughts on self-worth, fashion, and the importance of kindness. The more Maya spoke out, the more confident she became in her message. With each new collaboration and appearance, she discovered how deeply her experience resonated across diverse audiences. She was soon invited to contribute to campaigns advocating for body positivity, cultural inclusivity, and ethical practices in fashion. Her story had given her a unique platform, and she used it to encourage others to reject harmful stereotypes and celebrate individual identity. Maya's presence was powerful because it came from an authentic place, and her genuine passion for fashion, combined with her commitment to advocacy, inspired others to take action as well. In the months that followed, Maya continued balancing her love for fashion with her advocacy work. She found ways to integrate her message into her personal style, choosing pieces that reflected her values and often showcasing designers who championed inclusivity. Social media became a vital tool for her mission. She shared stories of brands that prioritized ethical practices, celebrated diversity, and promoted body positivity. Maya wanted her platform to be a space where people could feel accepted and seen, regardless of their background or appearance. Each time Maya faced a new challenge or felt moments of doubt, she remembered her parents' words. The lessons of that day in the boutique had become a part of her, a reminder of her strength and resilience. She realized that her worth was not defined by others' opinions, but by the confidence and self-respect she carried within herself. Her parents had given her the foundation she needed to stand tall in the face of adversity, and now she was sharing that foundation with others. As her influence grew, Maya began thinking about the long-term impact she wanted to make in the fashion industry. She had learned that small acts of kindness and understanding could have a ripple effect, changing perspectives and breaking down prejudices. Determined to make inclusivity a standard rather than an exception, she started working on her own fashion line. She envisioned a brand that would not only offer stylish and high-quality clothes, but also embody the values she held dear: respect, empathy, and acceptance. Her fashion line was a true labor of love, reflecting everything she had learned through her journey. She sourced materials ethically, employed diverse models, and ensured that her designs catered to a wide range of body types. The line's slogan, "Fashion for All," captured her vision. Maya wanted her brand to be a place where everyone could find something they loved without feeling judged or excluded. When the line finally launched, the response was overwhelming. Fashion magazines and influencers praised her designs for their quality and versatility, but more importantly, they applauded her commitment to creating a brand that put people first. Customers flooded her brand's social media pages with heartfelt messages, sharing how Maya's inclusive approach had inspired them. The stories people shared mirrored her own, filled with moments of prejudice and subsequent empowerment, and she felt a profound connection to each of them. Looking back, Maya saw how far she had come. The painful experience in the boutique had initially felt like a moment of weakness, a wound that would never fully heal. But with time and courage, she had transformed that pain into something beautiful and impactful. Her story had come full circle, evolving from a personal incident into a movement that was making real change in the industry she loved. Every new challenge Maya faced was a reminder of her journey, a journey that had started with a single day of excitement and heartbreak, but had grown into a powerful mission of resilience, integrity, and compassion. She had learned to trust her voice, to use her influence responsibly, and to remember that her worth was defined not by others' opinions, but by the values she chose to live by. Today, Maya's brand continues to grow, inspiring others to view fashion as more than just clothing, but as a platform for unity and self-expression. Her mission has left an indelible mark on the industry, and her story serves as a beacon of hope for those who have ever felt misunderstood or unseen.
Disclaimer: this channel does not support or tolerate any form of discrimination, racism, prejudice, or violation of human rights. The stories presented here are original and created by the author with the aim of promoting reflection, awareness, and dialogue. All content is developed with respect for diversity and the dignity of all people.